Dave. This is our 4th episode, and we're here with Kung Fu Bruce. Bruce, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Kung Fu Bruce.
How you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm chilling. I just got done a really nice seminar with some good friends.
So, Bruce and I know each other through judo, and he is a Kung Fu expert as well. We've known each other about a year now, I guess.
A little over now. I've known you for almost 2.
You are, what, 28 years old?
I am 29.
29 years old. Bruce, why do you want to be friends with a fat 47-year-old man?
I think the golden question's why not?
Do you have any Angry Dave stories yet?
Depends. Most of my Angry Dave stories are like judo stories.
So, do you have anything in particular that you can think of right now?
Like when you get mad that all the young kids run from you and you freak out.
Yeah, well, that happens. All right. Let's move on from that so we don't offend anybody. So, Bruce, tell us about you were born and raised where?
So I was born in Philadelphia. I went to St. Monica's. And then when I was young, my parents moved out to Ridley. And I was there till I was about 18. I went in the military, lived in Texas for about a year, and then I moved back to Philly at 20.
20 years
So
old.
I've been back for 9 years.
So let's talk about the early years. What's your first memory of childhood?
I would say like some of my earliest memories of childhood were like little things that used to mean a lot. Like I did at one point have a pretty big family out here.
Yeah.
And I even wrote a paper about it in school that the city kept us together.
Yeah.
Because we all lived like down within a block of each other,
Right.
all like circled around St. Monica's. Like we and my grandmother and us, we lived around like Opal Street, 2200 block or 2300 block. And then my cousins like Greg and Maddie and Mike and other family members like that all lived off of 19th Street near 19th and Rittner.
Right.
It was great because like you just grew up going to everybody's house and having dinner, and it was mostly my mom's side, which is like mostly Italian and Irish.
Yeah.
So it was just a great time.
So just for people that don't know, Bruce is talking about South Philly. St. Monica's is a Catholic parish here on the west side of South Philly. What was it like? Like, what was the neighborhood like growing up? When did you move into Delaware County? How old were you?
I was probably around like 10,
Okay.
9 or 10. You know what? I really liked the old block. My uncle still lives over on Opal Street.
Yeah.
So I go see him like once a week. And my cousin Greg and Maddie still live on 19th Street, but all the other extended family either died or moved away.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like when I was a kid, my uncle used to pick me up at St. Monica's, walk back to the house, or I would walk across the street and go and get like pastine
Yeah.
from nice buttered up pastine,
Yeah.
the little things. Or we would like stop over to Tito's, go grab like cookies, like the chocolate drops, because like all the Italians would sit there and say, "You don't want chocolate chip?" "Yeah, I do. I want chocolate." No, you want chocolate drop. I don't take chocolate drop, whatever. Right. And it was great. Like all the family was nearby. It was nice little South Philly. So it was like all Italian pretty much in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
mixed in with some Irish, and I absolutely loved it.
So how about when you moved out to Delaware County? How was that?
I didn't like it as much because I didn't like St. Madeline's too much. I was too young to appreciate that my parents worked hard to put me in a nice school.
Yeah.
Just wasn't for me. I was also a little dickhead as a kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens.
What was it like being Bruce's parent, like as a young kid?
It was like a pick your battles kind of thing. You wanted me to do homework? I was not your kid. You would want to choke the fucking life out of me. But having said that, though, I wouldn't be afraid to like make dinner and stuff like that for my parents before they got home because I'd walk home from school because it was like just a nice old school like town in Ridley. So like you could walk home at 10 or 11 years old and start dinner and stuff like that when you got home. It wasn't like crazy meals. As I'm older, I appreciate how much nicer it was as a kid.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you were like, "Oh man, I miss the city. Fuck this place. It's like barren here."
Right. How about high school, Bruce? What was going on at that time?
Oh fuck, man. I had long hair. I loved rock and roll. I loved going to karate class. I hated school. Absolutely hated going to school. I liked certain classes, like I was good at English because it helped me with like in the band or whatever in the band.
Yeah.
But like I got an F plus in chemistry.
F plus.
And my dad fucking lost his shit. He's like, "Jesus Christ, Bruce, how the fuck that's failing with effort. How the fuck did you fail with effort? You couldn't get a D?" He was mad I couldn't even get a D or a D minus.
Yeah. It's a fair assessment. Well, you talked about a band. What was that? What is that about? School band, rock band? What was going on?
I was like a band with like a couple of my friends. It was like my bassist's name was Kevin Penny. We always called him Kenny. We had Dan Grief, Frankie Highland, I know these names don't mean a lot to anybody who's listening, but like these were all my friends. We all gathered in my buddy's basement who had like parents that just did not give a shit that we were like blasting amplifiers and playing drums and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
But we had some good times. We used to like play down in Media. We would go to like the local coffee shop because they had a huge venue that like during the day you would just stop in and get coffee. But like on a Friday night, like you rent out the place for nothing pretty much because they liked helping the local kids.
Yeah.
And we would set up all of our stuff and just play and fill out the place with like people that were in our crew.
Awesome.
At the time, we were called Tyranny. And our only claim to fame is we played a show at the Trocadero before it closed down. And it happened to be a day that like the Misfits, not Misfits with Danzig, but like the Misfits and a band called A Day to Remember were playing there.
Wow. Best memory of high school?
It depends. Is my wife going to listen to this?
Probably.
Playing karate, hang out. No, no, believe it or not, one of my fun memories in high school, a couple days after school during the week, I would start like a little fight club in my parents' backyard. They get pissed.
Yeah.
But like, like when I was like doing that stuff, like a lot of people were like, yeah, you do like karate and like jujitsu or whatever the shit. I'm like, yeah, dude, I do jujitsu in Woodland and I've been doing karate for years. I was like, if you guys want to come out, dude, just bring some clothes and bring some gloves and fuck it, let's go. And we used to fight in my parents' backyard until one of the dudes knocked his teeth out. And he was like, all right. And you can't even say it was like a cool way. He just got kicked and he fell over and hit his mouth on the one table in the corner.
And his chiclets all fell out.
Two of them did.
Yeah.
And he that was like all right, we kind of got to put a pin in that now.
Any crazy high school stories, anything like that?
I can safely say there was a time that I thought with my brain, two girls, I'll leave nameless,
Yes,
wanted
please.
to hook up. I'm like, all right, this is cool, whatever, we'll hook up or whatever. We're like back there. And as a responsible young adult who I give my parents 100% credit, the first time I heard a sex joke at 10 years old, I came home and they're like, we need to have the talk. Sit down, we're having the talk. If you take anything from today, condoms are your friend. We will teach you what they are, but don't be stupid. Okay, that's fair enough. I did not have one on me.
Yeah.
And I declined the rest of what the night would have offered because I was like, it is really late.
It's impressive.
Nowhere's open in Ridley. And I was smart enough to say, I am 16 between two very good looking girls. I do not trust myself. So, hindsight, good thing I'm leaving them nameless. Early senior year, they both got pregnant. So, it definitely was in my best of interest that I didn't go forward because it just, the sun and the moon and the stars didn't line up all the way.
Yeah, God bless you, Bruce. I never had that problem. I was a troll my whole life, so two girls never necessarily want to have sex with me in high school. I found the first one that liked me, and I married her. So you do graduate high school, correct?
Yes, I do.
What do you do after that? What's going on after that?
I applied to 4 colleges. I applied to Widener, Penn State, Brandywine, Temple, and I forget the 4th college I applied to. I got a really beautiful letter from Widener and Temple that said, you are not accepted. And I was like, fuck, dude, the only school I got accepted to was a community college and I got to take everybody. So I went to go to Penn State Brandywine. So I went to the Dean of Admissions office.
Yeah.
Never met this guy, didn't look his picture up or anything like that. So I'm just sitting there waiting. I got my Megadeth t-shirt on. I got like a leather jacket on and some jeans or whatever. I'm still like brand new senior in high school. And like people are starting to get like acceptance letters like 3 months in or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Some dude comes walking in. He's wearing like a cool guy outfit-ish, if you will. Like it was like a dress shirt, but unbuttoned, no tie.
Ooh.
A light blazer and shit. And like he looked put together.
Yeah.
And the guy looked at me and he goes, tell me you're not one of those ones that takes Megadeth over Metallica. And I said, tell me you're not that guy that takes Metallica over Megadeth, knowing that the lead singer of Megadeth wrote all of Metallica's good shit. So we spent like 2 hours bullshit about comic books, movies, music, politics, everything. So the guy goes like, what are you doing here? I never asked you that. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I got accepted or not. I wanted to like make an impression and talk to somebody. He said, all right, cool. Well, sit down. I'm like, well, who are you? He's like, I'm the dean of admissions. I'm like, all right, nice. He goes, well, I'm going to tell you, you didn't get accepted, but we can change that. Seemed like you got potential. We could work with you a little bit. So he's like, maybe we can work on getting you accepted. I said, that's great. Like, should I apply for scholarships and stuff? He's like, dude, you didn't even get accepted into college 5 minutes ago, let alone a scholarship. I'm like, all right, I'm not going into debt, so this might not be for me. So I thanked him and talked to a buddy of mine who was in the Air National Guard.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, man, well, I've been doing PT with the Marines for like the last 6 months because, like, not that I had a burning desire to go to the Marines, but like,
Yeah.
Ridley's a Marine Corps town.
Right.
Like, we have like 2 recruiting stations in Ridley. One's an Army shop that's like never open, which is shocking.
Right.
And a Marine Corps station that basically camps outside of the high school.
Yeah.
Like, we knew all the recruiters, and it was like Staff Sergeant Baird, a really cool dude. Never have a bad thing to say about him. Tough guy, really tough guy. And we used to do like PT with them and stuff like that. And then, which is physical training.
Yeah.
And then a buddy of mine grabbed me and said, listen, why don't you come to work with me one day? I'll introduce you to my commander. I'll introduce you to the people that I work with, and we'll make your decision on what you want to do. And I was like, all right. So I go over, had to cut my pretty long hair, wore like tan khaki. Like, I looked like your typical frat boy douchebag.
Yeah.
Like, I had a button-up shirt with a sweater over top of it, like at my age, not like sophisticated in my 30s. Like, the kid trying to fit in because his dad told him this is what you got to dress like today, but like, I know you're an asshole, low-key.
Yeah.
I go to sit down with his commander, Lieutenant Colonel Preston.
Yeah.
He shuts the door and says, yo, like, what is your plan? What do you want to do with yourself? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I did shitty in school. Like, these are the things I'm good at. He said, listen, you should make a list of the things you really want to do. And law enforcement was like the top of it. And he said, listen, if I was you, I would enlist in the Air Guard, take the test and see what I apply for. The Air National Guard doesn't chase you, you chase them. He goes, now, I don't know about you, but I want to get in the branch that I have to work my ass off to get into, not the branch that's knocking down my door. And he said, which there's nothing wrong with any of the branches.
Right.
He said, do that, get some job knowledge. He goes, and if you really want to go to Temple or any of those schools, I used to go to Temple, and I'm really tight with like the dean there. You know, I give lectures, I do things like that. He goes, if you can show me that you can do this for 2 years well, and you keep your shit up and do a year of community college with good grades, I will talk to them and get you into school. And I will show you all the ways to make sure that your school is paid for by the military and you get some scholarships. But you got to show me you want it.
Yeah.
Now, I never ended up going to Temple.
Right.
But I ended up going into the military, and I went for security forces, which is military police.
Right.
I learned a lot. It was the foot in the ass I really, really needed, which kind of backtracking a little bit here.
Yeah, go for it.
My grandmother, when I told my grandparents that I was going to go in the military.
Yeah.
My grandfather was an Air Force veteran and a veteran of the Philadelphia Police Department. He was all about it.
Right.
My grandmom was not about it.
Yeah.
My dad enlisted in the Marines.
Yeah.
And he was all about it. My mom was like, no.
Right.
Well, my grandmother said to me, I'll tell you what, if you can do a year of community college, whatever school you want, I will pay for it. And I told her no, because I said, I am in a boat that if I did so shitty in school, I don't want to say, okay, let me get my act together when I need a foot in my ass right now.
Yeah.
And then take for granted that I'm not paying for it and start doing shitty in school. So I went in the military. They gave me a really good, like, Uncle Sam foot and ass, taught me a lot of good shit. And then I went back to school. I did 1 year of community college and I got honors. Then I went to the police department, did all that, took some time off. And then I went back for my bachelor's at Newman.
Okay.
Graduated Newman with a 3.9.
Awesome.
Because Uncle Sam has a great way of saying, if you fail your classes, you owe us every fucking dime back and we will get it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, oh, I don't have that. It's crazy. So I did that. And then a buddy of mine, actually a few years ago, convinced me, because he's like one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah.
Said we should get our master's degree because we should qualify for a little bit more money because we re-enlisted for a second time.
Right.
Because the first time went so well.
Right.
I said, fuck it, let me do it a second time.
Yeah.
And I went back to St. Joe's and graduated with a 3.8.
Awesome.
So looking back on it, the best decision I ever made was going into the Air Force.
And tell me about, have you spent time active duty?
So I did active guard reserve for a while, which
Yeah.
is when the state of Pennsylvania activates. Like, so there's 3 tiers of technically of military.
Okay.
We'll say specifically with the Air Force.
Right.
You have active duty,
Mhm.
which is like go to your typical active duty recruiter and you get sent away.
Right.
There's the reserve, which is an active duty component because it works for the federal government.
Right.
So like their funding still comes from the same funding that active duties does. It's just 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
Right.
And if, let's say, something happens that you're deployed overseas and they say, well, we need them an additional 2 months, the federal government can just say, well, fuck it, we're keeping them 2 extra months.
Right.
Now, the Air National Guard works directly for the state of Pennsylvania. So
Right.
I do work for the president, but my immediate commander would be the governor.
Gotcha.
That way, like, if I go overseas and they're like, hey, we need Buchanan for, like, 2 more months, the state of Pennsylvania could say either, we don't have the money to keep paying him for 2 more months, so you're going to have to figure it out. Or the state of Pennsylvania could say, we can spare a little extra cash for maybe 2 or 3 more weeks.
Right.
I prefer the Air National Guard because we get a little bit more funding depending on the state that you're with. Pennsylvania is a pretty good state for it.
Right.
So we get really good training opportunities, really good like away opportunities, and like overall, like it's really not bad. So looking at it, if there was any other branch I went to besides the Air National Guard, it probably would have been the Coast Guard.
Right.
But the Air National Guard, without a doubt, has been awesome with me and to me. And I've been fortunate enough over 10 years to say I wasn't just taught by like your typical Air Force guys that have no experience.
Yeah.
My mentors ranged from Army infantry with 2 tours in Iraq, who came to the Air National Guard,
Right.
Marine Corps infantry. We had one recon guy. We had a ranger come over. My new commander's been like tabbed for almost every specialty school you can get in the military. And these were all my guys that were like, we didn't have the funding to have crazy training in the Marines or the Army. But now that I'm here, I have all the intellect, knowledge, and know-how to have crazy training, and the government will give me the money to teach you.
Right.
So, like, when we go away, they give us whole fucking fake villages and say, okay, we're going to set up Op 4, which is enemies, like
Yeah.
quote-unquote enemies.
Yeah.
And I am going to give you SEM rounds, and I am going to shoot you. And I will tell you afterwards, I shot you in the head, you died, let's do this again.
Yeah.
So, like,
Real-
I learned really good hands-on training, like room clearing, coin operations, how to talk to people, how to de-escalate,
Yeah.
all things that when I became a cop really helped me a lot.
How about how to rip people's ears off? Have you learned any of that?
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite part. But I learned that civilian side from like martial arts instructors that were like, yeah, rip that dude's ear off.
Any
I want to get a necklace of teeth.
any crazy stories from the military?
Not so much crazy stories as like when I was deployed overseas, it would just make me laugh how many people were like super happily married, women and men alike, or whatever you want to be. And they were just over the moon about their relationship and their kids and their spouse or their significant other or whatever. And it's amazing how in the first week, everybody's going through a quote unquote separation at home. But don't look me up on Instagram. Don't look any of my stuff up. Don't send me messages. Just take my word, I'm separated. And then as soon as the 6-month deployment's over,
Married again.
they're married again 2 days later. Oh, I love it. And then they'll get like DMs from people that like couldn't let it go for a little bit. And they'll be like, oh, well, how did that work out? It just did. Leave me alone. Don't call me back again. And you're like, shit, dude, people are vicious.
All right, so then you tell me about the transition into the police force. When did that happen?
I took a couple of tests when I was 19
Okay.
because 10 years ago, you could just sign up to take a test.
Yeah.
Like NYPD. There was a point in time that was like a really awesome department to be a part of. Like you couldn't afford to live, but it was a super rewarding job with medical for life.
Right.
And retirement at like 22.5 years, which that's a really fucked up look number, like 22.5. Can't you just make it like 22 or 23? But I went with my buddy because at that time it was such a desired job. They held the test Monday to Friday, 2 locations, every day of the week.
Yeah.
And if it started at 8 a.m., you had to be in line by 6.
Wow.
Because by 6:45, it was down the block.
Yeah.
And by 7:30, when they started taking people, they'd cut that fucking line off halfway through. So if you didn't live in New York, you were driving 2 hours back home.
And what year is this about?
So 10 years ago. I would say this was like 2013.
Gotcha.
So 2013, I go and take NYPD's test after I do all my preliminary military training.
Okay.
So like my basic military training, which was like 2 months or some shit like that, I forget.
Yeah.
And then my technical training for the police academy for the military, which was like 4 months.
Right.
So I get back, I'm working active duty for the state and my base, getting sent all over the place miscellaneously, like, hey, we need you to help out at the Gap here, we need to help with this, we need you to help with that. And just typical active duty military shit.
Yeah.
So I took the NYPD test, studied, and I will say this: out of all the police department tests I've ever taken,
Yeah.
that was the most police oriented fucking test I've ever taken. Like, hey, you're chasing a guy down this street. He turns the block, he makes a right, and then makes another right on the street behind the one you were chasing him.
Yeah.
What do the buildings look like on the rear side? But they won't show you the front building again. You have to just remember it.
Right.
Or they'd say, hey, here's a picture, and you got like a bunch of shit going on, a cop yelling at this guy, this dude's robbing this guy. Like, you're counting cops, you're counting guys, what are they wearing, what time it is, and they'll be like, hey, what was that discount on that fucking hoagie shop behind that cop?
Yeah.
Just to see what your attention to did. I'm like, fuck, this test is hard.
Right.
I got 100 on it, and I got 5 points for military.
That's amazing.
And I remember walking up to the guy, and I'm like, yo, what does this mean? Like, I got a great score. Like, when am I getting recruited? He goes, dude, you were definitely getting a phone call in like 3 or 4 years. You're getting recruited. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. Like, you'll get recruited sooner than later, but it will be like 3 or 4 years.
Jesus.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I took Philly's test because like Philly's home, and I tried signing up for Chicago. That was just weird. I signed up for the District of Columbia test in DC. I signed up for Horsham Township because all these places were taking so fucking long. I put myself through Delaware County's Community College Police Academy. And the fucked up part was that I would say that was a 6-month academy. 5.5 months in, I'm the class leader. I'm running courses. I'm doing all this shit. And I get a phone call from Philly. Hey, you want a job? On a Friday afternoon at like fucking 1 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, I want a job. And they're like, great. You need to go to the far northeast to get your fingerprints. You need to go to this shop in the far northeast to go get, or I'm sorry, you have to go to the roundhouse to get your fingerprints. You got to go to the far northeast to go get your uniforms. You got to go pick up this. You got to go pick up that. By the way, most of them close by 2:30. I'm like, what the fuck? So I called up my class director and I said, yo, I'm dropping out of the police academy. He's like, what? He couldn't get my fucking name right for 6 months. He called me Buckman every day. It was like in his late 70s, early 80s, and he just let it go. And he's like, Buckman, you better have a good fucking reason you're leaving, man. Like, you're class leader. You'll definitely get a job in the county, blah, 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 blah. Like, I just got offered a full-time job with Philly. He was like, yeah, fuck that, man. All right, I'm going to just stop your check so you don't get charged for the second half of the course. I'm like, thanks, man. And I started the academy on Monday. And the fucked up part was I'd already become I did 9 months at Philadelphia. Got on the street, worked in Southwest Philly in the 12th District. For those listening, that is, in my opinion, one of the harder districts to work in because it's like there's a lot going on. I was on a deployment. So at this point, I've been in the military for like almost 5 years. And I was on the police department for like probably 3. And the fucked up part was I'm deployed and I get an email from NYPD. Hey, we're ready to recruit you now. I'm like, what the fuck, man? It's been like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I make decent money now, and you want me to start at poverty? And then, but that's how shit goes. But yeah, I got offered Horsham Township too. I remember like it was at the time that was also a really desired position. They were offering $135 a year.
Wow.
Really good medical and a killer pension. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anybody in Montgomery County. I signed up for this fucking test like in Delco's Academy thinking Philly would never recruit me.
Yeah.
I signed up. They got back to me like way into my like foot beat at Philadelphia. So the beginning of me starting out of the academy. And they're like, hey, we need you to come out and take a physical fitness test. I'm like, okay. 138 people show up to take it.
Oh, boy.
70 people pass. I'm like, okay, I'll never get further than this. I don't know anybody here. I'm not political.
Right.
So I do my first interview. They narrow it down to like 30. I'm like, okay, I'll never get a second interview. They gave me a second interview. I'm like, all right, cool. So I do the second interview. They whittle it down like 5. I'm not going to be one of them. They gave me the phone call. I was one of the 5. So the 5 of us have to meet with like the chief and the township manager. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to pass this. I don't fucking know them. I'm sure the chief's kid's like one of them. Sure shit. Fucking like 3 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail. Hey, you're our hire. You're our pick. I'm like, no shit. I'm like, I don't know anybody here, man. Like, what the fuck? So I'm like in between because Philly's like my home. It was the job I always wanted.
Right.
And I like working in Philly. Like, I love it. It's my home. And it's not that Horsham's a bad place, but it would have been a thing where I only took the job because of the money,
Right.
not because of the love. And I remember driving through like the wooded areas getting to the police station, which some people revel in. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this for 30 years. No fucking way. So I met up with the captain. He was a really nice guy. And I told him outright, I said, this is maybe a job I'd appreciate in my 40s.
Yeah.
I'm too young to appreciate what you're offering me now. I have a lot that I still need to do in the city and learn. And I have a lot going on there. He said, I am so glad you picked the mature thing. I said, I wanted to tell you this before you spent money on me, like in a background investigation,
Right.
all this other shit. He said, no, I really, really appreciate it. Which probably the second guy who came in second place, probably, why the fuck did he drop out? Is this job setting me up for failure?
Yeah. Right.
You know what? I tell people all the time, looking back on it 8 years later, I'd still stand by the decision I made. It worked out very well. And I'd done, seen, and was a part of so much great, horrible, fantastic, and downright evil shit that I've seen that I would have never gotten that experience anywhere else.
Yeah.
And met people along the way that had changed my life. And I was just telling a young airman who was asking me the difference. And I said, listen, if both jobs offer you an opportunity to live comfortably off that salary, have a decent retirement, and good medical, then you need to go after that. The next level after that is where will I be happy? Because you can't live 30 years of your job, wait for the day you walk away.
And you made this decision. How old were you?
21.
Yeah. God bless you, my brother. It's taken me a long time to figure out happiness means more than money. But God bless you. Let's talk about the police force. So you've been there 8 years now.
Yeah, a little over you.
What's the thing you love most about it?
No day is the same. Every day offers something. Like, there might be similarities between days, like a general event that's fucked up, but you are never short of days that something will just downright make you laugh, downright make you just question humanity and how we'll even survive.
Yeah.
And if there are people out there, like, you wonder, can your body breathe without thought? Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Continue.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I love the monotony of the day to day, and like, it just,
Yeah.
I'm a city guy. Always, I was born here. This was the place I was always meant to be.
Give me the funnest part of the job. Any fun part about it?
So I'm a people person. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So like, I just love interacting with people. I think one of the funniest things is when you have somebody that's like dead guilty.
Yeah.
And I always tell young cops, the biggest thing you can do, just talk to people.
Right.
Just talk to them. Watch as they just like completely betray everything they just fucking said by asking a question.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like, like a question that truly fucks them and sets them up for failure.
Right.
Like, I had a guy stop. I watched him across the street. I know he was selling crack. It was
Yeah.
at 52nd and Woodland. Like, I watched the hand to hand with the pink packets
Yeah.
for cash. So I stopped the guy and I'm like, hey man, and he didn't want to give me a real name or date of birth. Well, here's the thing. If you're gonna have a fake name and a fake date of birth, make sure all of it adds up in your head first.
Right.
And I said, okay, what's your name? Tommy Cooper, man, which, by the way, for those listening, that wasn't his real name. I'm not divulging information about somebody, but he goes, my name is Tommy Cooper, man. I said, like, so Tommy, that's your name on your birth certificate, not like Thomas or anything. Yep, it's Tommy. I said, okay, that's strike one. And that still in the realm of possibility.
Right.
And I said, okay, spell your last name for me. He goes, it's, all right, the fact that you're whooping up with, that's
Right.
3.
Yeah.
Or 2. He goes, C-O-O, her. I said, what? I said, spell that again. So it spells it the exact same way. Come on, man, with more confidence, though, this time.
Yeah.
C-O-O, per, man. I just told you. That's how you spell my name, motherfucker. And I went, okay, when were you born? He goes, I was born March 29th, 1992. And mind you, this is like 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
I said, so how old are you? He's like, I'm 40. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's not even in the realm of your 20s.
Right.
Like, So I'm like, all right, dude, I'm just locking you up. For what, man? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not wanted. How would I know? You don't even know your name or your date of birth.
Right.
I said, so you got to get ID'd. And not for nothing. Like, yeah, I watched you. Like, you're on camera.
Yeah.
What camera? I ain't on camera. I didn't do anything. I said, look up, dude. He looked at the camera and went, oh, shit. I didn't even see that. Like, okay.
Any funniest story?
All right. So the funniest story I ever had, and we were discussing this the other day.
Yeah.
I get a call for a person screaming. Now at this point, I'm like a little seasoned. I got like 3 or 4 years on. So like in my head, I'm like, oh man, 3 or 4 years. I'm a salty, crusty 25-year-old.
Right.
You know, I've seen it all.
You've seen it all.
I've seen it all, bro.
I worked in Southwest Philly.
Yeah.
I know everything.
Yeah, and then bam, walked around the corner to something I haven't seen before, which goes right back to why I love that job.
Yeah.
I get called to a rooming house. For those listening, rooming houses are like if you have a regular row home, illegally they are legal. You're not allowed to do it because it's like inhumane for people to live that way. You will take each room of the house, make it a quote unquote studio that's only the size of a shoebox, and charge them $400 a month. They share a living room, they share a kitchen, and they share a bathroom, and the house is usually dilapidated.
Yeah.
So I get called the person screaming there. Go in. Front door of the house, rooming house is open, probably because everyone always forgets their keys. So I go up to the 3rd floor and I can hear somebody going like, ah, 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 but like in a rhythm, not like, someone's stabbing me, like, like someone's repeatedly hitting them or something. So I get up to the 2nd floor, like, dude's backing me up. A supervisor comes on scene. And I'm like, all right, dude, like, I see the door cracked. The place smells like someone's been like just doing drugs and like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So like I hear him yelling, and you don't have to kick the door because the door's already like cracked open, and I have exigency to go in because I think someone's being hurt. So I push the door open. There's a little table there and a little bed, like it's all cramped up in one spot, and the table's got like drugs on, like not like packets, like actual drugs and like freshly used like crack pipe and stuff, and a little TV playing like African American and Asian porn, and this guy is just getting pegged by this girl with a strap on.
So I just want to stop this for 1 minute.
Okay.
You just saw a guy getting pegged by with a strap on, and you remember what type of porn they have?
You know what? That was a scene you just drank in everything. Because it was like one of those things, like you ever look at one of those like puzzles where it's like find the pieces, but it says each time the harder you look at this, the more fucked up it gets. Like the chick's got a tentacle behind the counter, and this is going like that. It was like one of those paintings. Like the harder you looked at this place, the worse it got. So like okay, so I'm like, so she's pegging him. And I'm like, yeah. Like, you guys got to stop. Like, there's drugs here. There's like, I got to talk to you guys. And you would think like someone would be like, oh shit, officer, I'm so sorry. Let me like just throw my robe on and like come over and we'll get decent or whatever. This chick just fucking unclips the strap on while it's in his ass and walks up to me, no robe or anything, and goes, what do you want? And then this dude gets up with a fucking 4 nylon tails hanging out of his ass. And he gets up. And the dude's hard as a rock with a cock ring on, and it looks like swollen, not like he's having a good time. Like it looks swollen. Like if my man was like medium shade brown, his dick was jet black because there was like no blood flow in it.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm like sitting here like, first off, what's wrong with him? She's like, oh, it happens sometimes. He injects in his dick and like they're so high they don't realize they're telling a cop. Yeah, we do drugs on his dick, and then he puts the cock ring on because it's more fun. I'm like, all right. So he the whole time is in the corner going, whose dick is this? Whose dick is it? Looking at his own dick, and I'm like, I'm not paying him any mind because I'm like, come on, one of those situations. Like, how does your body know how to breathe without thought? And I'm like, all right, dude, just chill in the corner. Like, I'm not worried about him. He's harmless. He's more worried about whose dick's attached to him.
Right.
And I'm like talking to her, like, okay, whose drugs are these? Where did this come from? And then he picks up a knife. And I'm thinking, all right, like, yo, what was that?
No, wait. So he picks up a knife. I need to stop for 1 minute.
Okay,
because I need to know, are they both butt naked?
Oh, completely naked.
All right. What is he like a big fatty or is he fucking ripped?
He was like just a thin, a medium skinned black guy who was bald and he had like a beard, like it was like a lightly grayish beard.
How big is this no blood dick?
It was I couldn't give you a length, but like it definitely. So it looked like it wouldn't have been as big if it wasn't like completely cut off, injected into, and
Right.
fucking like just no circulation through it and tightened up with a cock ring. Probably too small for him.
But he could probably fuck an elephant, like, or a horse. Like, what size?
This fucker was big. It
All right.
was big.
How about her? Was she bushy, or she like?
She was not keeping clean on herself, and like she definitely had like an odor to her.
Damn it!
Like this was like the kind of like I probably haven't bathed in a while.
Yeah.
I've been doing some weird shit, and I'm so high I don't care.
All right. Back to scene. We
Okay.
have a knife.
And she was thin. She was thin too. Like they were both very thin. He was just really tall, and she was like probably like 5'3", and he was probably like 6'2".
Gotcha.
So I'm like, okay, like he's built like a javelin.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So he goes to the corner and he's like, dude, I'm not gonna keep this guy's dick on me anymore. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like he's harmless because like he's got a knife in his hand, but I'm like, I'm gonna get to that in a minute because I'm like thinking to myself, like, I got an eye on him. He's not threatening anybody. Like in a minute, I'm gonna have to take this from him. Like, cause like as I'm walking over, he goes, I'm getting rid of this now. He starts cutting through his dick.
Oh my.
I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And I'm like sitting there. She's like, stop him. I'm not fucking touching him. He's bleeding all over the fucking place. I don't know what the fuck he's got. I have no rubber gloves on.
Yeah.
I have nothing here for like, what do you want me to do? Tackle him while he's got a knife and his dick half cut off? So I'm like going over the radio. I'm like, whatever my call sign was at that time, like 12, we'll just say 1234 car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 1234 car, be advised, I need a rescue at this location. And they're like, all right, be advised, what's going on? I said, I have a male like trying to cut through his penis.
Jesus Christ.
And like dispatch is being super professional, but
Yeah.
even I can hear it like in like the inflation. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So like I'm sitting here like, dude, stop! Like I'm trying to like grab his arm to the side, but like I'm not gonna touch him because I'm not getting like having bleeding all over the place on me.
Yeah.
Because and then rescue shows up,
Yeah.
so he gets through it like to the point that like the cock ring falls off, and I'm like he just dropped the knife and he's just sitting there, and I am astounded at how blood's coming out of him and he is still able to like function.
Jesus Christ.
And
Is it like spewing out of him? Like
it was just like he was just profusely bleeding. Jesus. And I'm like, what the fuck? So medics, thank God, were already on the road, so they got there like quick.
Yeah.
Come running upstairs. They're like packing it for him. They're like trying to like save like his dick. Which I'm like, more power to
Was
you.
it like part of his like, was it clean off?
Oh, it was off. I mean, it wasn't a good job either. Like it was like imagine someone saying, "Here's a butter knife, cut through your hand."
Jesus.
I was bad. It wasn't like a sharp knife either. It was like it was blunt. I'm like, so he was really rushing to get through this thing. Like they take him, they're like, all right, man, we're gonna try to save this shit. And I made a joke to the medic as they're getting ready to pull away. I said, you should tell the doctor to sew it back on upside down so he learns a lesson. Every time he takes a leak in the morning, I want him to hit the ceiling.
That is so
And,
morbid.
and I'm like, and the guy's laughing. He was like, that'd be fucking great. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like this is not a life lesson. Which things you don't think of when you're high.
Yeah.
The longer it's off, the probabilities of putting it back on in general are much lower by every minute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck.
Any just straight funny stories? Holy shit, that was incredible.
God, I mean, there's been so many, dude. Like it's hard to like pick one out that it was like more funny than not. Just like, we're gonna have to come back to that in a little bit. You're gonna have to let me think about that because like there's just a couple of them and I'm just like, fuck, man. Like I know there's some that I just don't remember verbatim.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, man, that was pretty funny.
All right, you're a Philly cop in 2022 and 23. What's the thing you dislike about the job the most? What's the thing that makes you not want to do it anymore? Or is there anything?
So I still love the job. So the way I say it is leadership can make or break a location. You know, like the community's the community. If you get to a position like being a police officer, a detective, or whatever the case might be, and you're like, oh, I don't want to work in this community. Dude, you're a citizen soldier. You got to be ready to work anywhere from like the ghetto to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And give people equal service no matter where you go.
God bless you.
I never had a problem with working in areas. So kind of like going back to it, like leadership's a big problem depending on who you have.
Yeah.
Like when I was in the 12th, my first like 5 years,
I
had a blast. You know, my partner and I were always out there. You know, every day was a new adventure. You could do your job. The community did appreciate it because the community members you were helping weren't people watching a news story fucking 1,000 miles away.
Right.
They're the same people you saw every day when you drove by,
Right.
and they knew who you were because, like, you'd grab someone on the block or you'd stop somebody for something, and it was like that older lady that's like, "Thank you for grabbing that," or "Thank you for helping me," or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I hit like my 5th year, I lost my captain because he got promoted.
Right.
So I got a new captain. I'll just say fuck that guy. I don't
Yeah.
care if he's listening, but because we both know we don't like each other to our face. I will leave him nameless though, because
Yeah.
it still is a professional courtesy.
Yes, please.
But we would go at it all the time, and it just like he came and like you couldn't really do your job anymore. A lot of people were getting fired for. There's not even like crazy shit. Like if you do something like really stupid, you shouldn't be on the job.
Yeah.
But it was like dumb shit, like not doing this at the right time or not doing that at the right time or whatever. And you're like, dude, we can handle that with like a reprimand.
Right.
I didn't get along with him at all. And I thought like those were some days that I was like, I love this department, but like I'm in the district that they call like the black hole because like you just can't get out of it,
Right.
you know. And like at this point, like by around the time I was getting ready to leave, I had like 7 years. And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking burnt out. I'm tired of being here. The politics fucking sucks. Like I have some of the most time on my squad, and I'm treated like the fucking one that's brand new.
Yeah.
Like this is bullshit. And then I had somebody who I trained the year beforehand really want to come back. She missed the 12th a lot.
Right.
12th was better to her than me.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Right.
She went to the 6th district, which is like Center City at the time. It was like on Winter Street, and it was in the middle of like Chinatown. I love Center City. So I was like, all right, let's do a body swap. So she and I did a body swap.
Nice.
You know, it took a while to get it because my captain had to approve it.
Yeah.
So my captain had to decide, do I want to fuck this guy a little bit more and say no? Or do I want to have something nicer to look at every day? And he obviously made his decision. And I got transferred. And I went to the 6th district, and it was night and day. I even went the last out. I went to quote unquote the hardest tour because it was like steady 11P to 7A.
Right.
And I loved it. My supervisor was one of my best friends.
Awesome.
Everyone on my squad was like just really great people. They were great. And my captain, I have no problem naming him because he was such a great guy. Captain Craig. I hope he listens at this at some point because he was a fucking aces dude. Always took care of his people. Always took care of his community. Always did a great job.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. I would love to work for him again. I hope I do someday. You know, my lieutenant, he was really cool. Just everybody. And
Yeah.
you were never short of people to help you. And the community who actually lived there. Like my favorite block, I would always be what's called Police Service Area 3, which was in the neighborhood in the surrounding area.
Yeah.
I love the neighborhood. Not so much a lot of the people that visited from out of the city.
Yeah.
But I loved my residents there.
Right.
Like they were great people. I loved my business owners there. You know, I love my store owners. Like everybody was always awesome, and they knew who you were if you were there a lot.
Right.
It was night and day, like I said, leadership. And then when I got promoted to detective, I work for really good leadership again, and I work with a great crew of detectives that are always willing to help you and do a good job. And that we have a phrase in the military called being re-blued, which is like when you hit a really like low morale point, and then something small happens for you to say, you know what, this is actually pretty cool.
Right.
And you like get re-blued, ready to do the job. So I kind of got like re-blued when I went to the 6th and got double re-blued in detectives.
Yeah, you're a detective now. You've been a detective for a few months now. Right?
Yeah, like 4 or 5.
So, all right, tell me any advice you would give 18-year-old Bruce.
You'll learn from your fuck ups because that brought you to good points. It's hard because I would say if I could do it again, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
But everything I did took me to a pretty decent point.
Right.
I was a combination of making right decisions and being very blessed. You know, I fucked up a few times. I wasn't a bad kid. I'm your typical kid that just fucks up a couple times here and there, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer that, like, the kids that don't fuck up or get caught fucking up are like your Ted Bundys. Because, like, they have no experience to say, like, they just snap one day because they did every fucking thing right. You need to fuck up a couple times and then have your ass beat by your mom or your dad and be like, all right, I had fun. I was stupid. Let's not do it again.
Learn how to learn from your mistakes. And
Yeah.
everybody makes a mistake sometimes.
Yeah.
Everybody loses. How about a new kid going into the military or taking your route? What would you say to them?
Really know what you want to do and picks, unless you have the job already that you want to do something else. So, like, for instance, I wanted to be a police officer. So I did military police, which helped me a lot with my background interview to get my job.
Right.
Perfect. Now, if I was already a young police officer and wanted to get in the military, because we have a lot of guys who are like firefighters, cops, lawyers, whatever, and they're like, you know what, dude, I always regretted that I didn't go in the military. I'm going to go in the Air National Guard. And they'll hook me up. The only thing that fucking sucks about that is none of your college was paid for.
Yeah, right.
But they'd be like, well, I'm a cop on the outside, so I might as well do military. But no, fuck that, dude. What else did you want to do with your life? Get a trade. You're literally going to a hands-on trade school paid for by the government.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that's what the government is. Like I would go in and like be an electrician in the military, get my federal certs in like electrical management or some shit like that. That way, like on the civilian side, they're like, okay, well, you did this for the military for years. You're good at this. We'll give you the abridged version. So if, like, God forbid, you lose your job, you get laid off, or you just hit a point where you're like, I'm too fucking burnt out to do this job anymore, you have a good skill to do something else. And you're not like, fuck, man, this is all I've been doing for 20 years. I can't do anything else.
Yeah. What do you think the most important quality of being a good cop is?
Being able to talk to people and listen. I mean, playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Not every person that you come across on a call is a criminal.
Right.
Not everybody. You got to remember, like, there are some people that call like all the fucking time about something fucking stupid, and you're like,
Right.
people don't. Your vast majority call 911 because something really fucked up happened and they need help, and it might be like your eighth call dealing with like a fucking domestic, but that's their first call to you for help today, maybe. And not for nothing, people will, in a time of desperation, and either admit to something fucked up they did, or they might actually be asking for help with something else. You got to be able to listen.
Yeah.
You got to be able to talk to people. Like, I don't know how many times like things got crazy out of control, but just because I could talk to somebody, it would de-escalate. Like,
Yeah.
my two things. I'll give you a good example. So my mom used to work for Reproductive Associates. Like, she used to work for OBGYN offices, like
Right.
your IVF places. So like she'd always get cool little fucking office knickknacks that were pretty funny. So I used to keep the stress ball in my pocket that was shaped like a sperm. So when people would get really fucking mad, I'd be like, yo, dude, hold on. Just squeeze this and you'll be fine. Just relax. And they'd be so fucking hyped up, look down that it's a sperm ball, and they'd be like, yo, really, dude? Immediately cut the tension right there.
Right.
Or I would have two pens from Police and Fire Federal Credit Union. They have the little pens that are shaped like cops or firefighters, and you have white, black, Hispanic, and Asian.
Right.
My partner was black at the time. So I would carry the white cop and the black cop in my pocket. The one dude's going nuts. He's throwing shit. He's freaking out. Like, and I don't want to just grab him right away. I kind of want to see if I can talk him down a little bit first because I'd rather not put my hands on people if I don't have to.
Right.
And he just mid-sentence, he's like, yeah, fuck this. Blah, 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 blah. Yo, my man, do you have a black guy and a white guy in your pens? I'm like, yeah, it's me and Officer Long. And he goes, yo, dude, I think you solved racism, just being funny. And I was like, yeah, man, it's cool. We're all chill. And he goes, I'm like, you calm now? You want to like chill and tell me what's going on? He goes, you know what, man? Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool. Let's talk about it. It's fine. And he just chilled out, told me what was going on, and we worked it out.
That's all.
So, like, just being able to cut tension and talk to people and chill, that I would recommend that to people, man. Like, that, and my biggest thing I tell people all the time, if you're not doing something, take up like judo or jujitsu
Yeah.
or wrestling, grappling specifically, because then everybody gets involved in like boxing or karate. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want to be that dude on like national TV that all you're trained to do is punch people in the face, and your
Yeah.
first thing is to knock some dude the fuck out.
Never looks good on video.
No, but like if you slam somebody, 9 times out of 10, you know this is a judo guy. If you rushed into me and you got slammed, it's only because you tried to throw me down in a momentum that I
Right.
threw you down with first.
Right.
So it's like very defensive. It's what it's for, self-defense.
Let's talk about that. You what? You have 2 black belts in karate disciplines. You train judo. You train jiu-jitsu. You know more shit about martial arts than I've ever met anybody. You know history. You love the history of it. What started all that obsession?
So when I was a kid, I was always small.
Yeah.
I was scrappy. I didn't really fight with many. I'm not like one of those kids who's like, yeah, I was always in fights with everybody. But every once in a while, if I did, I was like, you know what I mean? I'm like kind of small.
Right.
So like I wanted to take karate. And not for nothing, it just always looked cool to me, man. Like I grew up watching. Like when I was little, I was like 6 when The Matrix came out. I was like, dude, that's badass. I want to do that. I want to be like Neo. And my mom had put me through like football, soccer, and I didn't like any of it. Like as an adult, I like to watch like hockey. And I liked hockey as a kid, but it didn't stick.
Right.
So I told my mom, I said, I want to do karate. She's like, well, listen, I paid for quite a few sports. You didn't like them. Give me some show of faith that you'll stick to this even for a little bit. And karate at that time at the Y, like it was like fucking $40 a month for a kid because
Right.
they wanted to encourage kids to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, it's like a heavy winter. So I went out, fucking shoveled driveways and shit, saved up money for 3 months of karate. So I saved up like $120.
Yeah.
And I always used to get sympathy and people to laugh at me when I would say, yeah, my mom said I need a job. They'd be like, all right, fine. And they'd be like, nice, because it's like the fucking 7-year-old, 6-year-old, whatever, trying to fucking shovel
Hustle. Yeah.
driveways, yeah,
Yeah.
hustling and stuff like that over in South Philly or wherever. And, when I was like 10, it was out in the burbs.
Yeah.
But, like shuffling, like you shovel like the front stoop for somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
So saved up money. Because like, even though we were in the process of moving to Delaware County when I was 7, because my dad was like trying to get a place there wasn't an apartment.
Yeah.
We still did stuff. Like I went to summer camp out there in Seacane and stuff like that. Like I didn't go to the Y in like certain spots in the city or whatever. They would send me to like Delaware County. So I signed up. I trained under a guy named Steve and Bub. Bub was a really nice guy. He was great with kids. Steve was a total fucking hard ass. Steve, I learned the most from.
Yeah.
And Steve was the first one to put a foot in my ass when I was little and be like, yo, calm the fuck down and do it the way I told you to. And I'm like, shit. But then I started when I was like 7 in Tong Sudo. By the time I was like 10, by the time I was like 12, me and my buddy Zach Hampel, we were just like beating up the other kids. And I'm like, like this is kind of getting boring. So Steve was like, you know what? Let me recommend you to the main school that we are a branch of. I said, okay. He goes, we are all tied to that school. It's just he has another school. Why?
Right.
He's like, you're going to go train under Master Dennis Jones. Like, I was a kid, so he's like, a legend. Oh my God, it's Master Jones. You got to be on your best behavior.
Right.
Dude's from, like, he's like, his dad was a black belt in Korea.
Yeah.
He had like a fucking hardcore Korean background, used to fight, like all kinds of shit. He was old school, like a brawler with karate.
Yeah.
So I would go up to the school and he was like, all right, like I'm going to put you in the adult class, you and Zach, but like they're going to hit you. You're going to do shit. So you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to get better. I'm getting bored. He's like, all right. So my parents would drive me to Aston, which is a bit of a hike. At this point, I was already living in Delaware County now.
Right.
Dude, I got my ass whooped by adults who had no problem hitting a 12-year-old and 13. But you know what though? I miss that martial arts because like it wouldn't fucking throw me across the room,
Right.
but they'd hit me hard enough that maybe it would knock me off my feet sometimes.
Yeah.
And I got back up and I was like, you know what? I should have done better. And this was a time when like if you wanted to stay with like the school on a quote unquote team, like because we used to do demos and all kinds of shit. You had to come like 3 or 4 days a week and it'd be an hour and a half class, but you had to be fluent with your weapons. You had to be fluent with your katas, which are your forms,
Yeah.
and you'd be able to fight. He was one of the only instructors for karate around that area that I knew that if he taught you a kata, you had to know what it meant. It wasn't just make it look nice.
Right.
And then you're like, well, what the fuck does this do? It looks stupid. He'd be like, no, no, no. There's a lot of low-key grappling in kata. There's a lot of strikes. There's a lot of joint locks. This is what you're actually doing. You need to be able to explain that.
Yeah. And just for those who don't know, kata is like the demonstration of it, right? It's the individual or sometimes team demonstration of the forms that you learn, right? So it's actually doing them and doing the movements, but just not in a competitive form.
Right. I'm trying to think that he had like a thing. At that time, it didn't matter if you started at 7 and you wanted your black belt at 15 and you'd been doing it for X amount of years. He wanted you to be 18 years old if you got a black belt.
Yeah.
Because he said you're bringing down what a black belt could be.
Right.
And you're not physically or mentally mature enough to be one yet.
Right.
To make good decisions to do this. Like, I always thought he was going to implement like that junior black belt shit.
Yeah.
But he never did. But looking back on it, he was right. Like, I don't know how many times I went to his office pissed off when I was like 15 or 16. Like, come on, man. I beat the shit out of that kid that's got a 2nd-degree black belt and a red belt.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, well, imagine how good you'll be when you are a black belt. And I used to be like, all right, whatever. He was right though, man. Like when I got my black belt at 18, I felt like I hit the top of the mountain.
What's the biggest benefit doing martial arts for you?
Oh my God, it keeps me centered, teaches me to step back. Believe it or not, I want to put my hands on people even fucking less
Yeah.
because I'm afraid of hurting them really bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I have a lot more patience than people that don't. And like I said, when I got that at 18, I tested for my second degree 2 years later, and I got my third degree when I was like 22 and 23, something like that, or whatever. And I felt so good. But I also started cross training when I was like 16.
Yeah.
So I did jujitsu for a little while at Woodland BJJ, Delco BJJ, but it was in Woodland
Yeah.
in Delaware County, right over the border. I used to ride my bike there. That lasted for a while, but like after like a year or two, I was just kind of like, he was a great instructor, but it was just certain things I wasn't happy with there. And it
Yeah.
was time for me to skedaddle. I could still train with people here and there, but it just wasn't where I wanted to be at that time.
Yeah.
I started training when I was like 16. Yeah, when I was 16, because I was old enough to drive. Started driving to Upper Darby, and I started training with one of my Sifus, who I'm still close with today, named Fred Grant.
And that is why what
Sifu is teacher in Chinese.
yeah, and then
So,
what type of martial art was that?
the original art of Bruce Lee and Ip Man Wing Chun.
Wing Chun.
Wing Chun Kung Fu.
And
It's all about trapping and practicality in a fight, but it all like that gets technical. Depends on the
yeah,
family you train with.
right.
Some of them, their forms look really good, but they can't do their shit. Whereas like my forms look so,
Yeah.
but we train to fight.
This is where Bruce geeks the fuck out about his ridiculous knowledge about
Oh,
martial
I
arts.
love it so much.
We're gonna
It's
pass that by for you guys because it can get fucking geeky and
it's
fucking
so geeky.
he makes me want to vomit every once in a while when we're in car rides.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, just I came late to martial arts, and it's just so humbling, and it really does calm me down as well. It makes me want to beat up people less, especially when I get my ass kicked every once in a while. And it's for somebody who's 46, 47, still being able to compete with a kid half my age is also kind of it inspires me to do it more. And I did teach Bruce how to do a Tani Atoshi that he has used in the street.
I have. Yeah, I did.
That's
Yeah.
one of my biggest accomplishments in my life.
Listen, not even just because it's like we're talking about this on the radio or whatever. It's like on this podcast, but contribute three of my teachers in judo to be obviously Allah Iladrisi. He's the school we attend. Kristen Iladrisi. Allah, I hope you listen to this one day. She's the superior sensei
Superior
and
by far.
superior by far. And Dave. Since I started there, like you and I are like we are not tall people by any means, and like we're both stocky like as shit. So like when I would watch Dave take big fucking dudes down by just getting underneath of them, I'm like, Allah would show me stuff, and some of it I'm like, dude, I could never get that the fuck off on a 6'2" dude that weighs like 250 pounds.
Yeah.
But then I would watch Dave do certain techniques where he would take that big motherfucker down, and I'd be like, I need to do it that way. Dave grabs me and goes, listen, man, Uranagi, Tani Atoshi, Hisoto, these are all techniques you're gonna learn to love. And I was like, no, I won't. And then sure as shit, there I was a couple times serving a warrant. Dude's going to try to get away from me. I gripped him up real quick and just sweeped his leg out. He's bigger than me. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I wish Dave was here.
I wish I was too. No, yeah. So I mean, I'm not a martial arts expert. Do, I am very good at uh, strategy and those types of things, and sort of knowing who you are, right? If you're a big, long kid, there's certain things you could do. If you're a short, stubby kid like me, then there's different areas that you want to train and you want to hone because it's more practical for you. Um, but enough about me and my late judo bullying. Tell me about your current situation. What's next for Bruce in the next 5 or 10 years? Where's your mindset? What do you want? What do you want to do now?
Well, I'm going to be sticking around with the military for a little bit because I got 10 more years in and then I get good medical coverage for my wife and I when we retire. So it's more like I want to make sure that she has good medical and I have good medical. So I'm going to be sticking around. Hopefully, I rank up. Still debating if I'm going to go the officer route, maybe become a lieutenant or something. And on the police department, I, I'm I'm like stuck because like I do want to be a sergeant, a supervisor, and a lieutenant, but I just love that. I don't believe.
Let's talk about relationship. What's it like being Bruce's mom?
My mom,
Yeah, what's it like being a kid for being her kid for you? Like
shit.
how do
When
you?
I was younger, I used to torture the shit out of my mom.
Yeah,
As an older, because I have no siblings,
yeah,
I take really good care of my mom.
yeah.
So it would depend on what point in life we're at. Like I had a good relationship with my mom when I was a kid, but I know there were so many times she wanted to fucking beat me in the face.
Yeah. And how was it growing up with your dad? Like, how how did you treat him? How was it being his kid?
I couldn't have asked for a better dad.
Yeah,
My dad was, listen, I love both of my parents,
of
but
course.
usually when you're a girl, you gravitate more towards your mom because
Yeah,
like that's what you want to like emulate in many ways, depending on your situation. And when you're a young guy, you want to be like your dad.
yeah.
And my dad always took great care of his family. He always had time for me. He showed up for everything. I could by no means say I had a rough childhood with my parents.
Yeah,
I lost my dad way too soon when I was 25,
yeah.
but he had a hard way to go and he still took care of his family. He was a 6-time cancer patient.
That's unbelievable.
He still found a way to take care of his family.
Yeah. You spent a lot of time in hospitals and growing
Yeah.
up and
Yeah, I knew how to walk. I knew how to get around Hahnemann when I was like 12. Every floor, what it was. I used to talk to doctors and stuff, and I knew my way around the original University City, before they like put like fucking different shit, different spots. But like back then, I knew where like different buildings were and stuff like that, and knew how to get around. My dad was something of a medical mystery, if you will.
yeah. How about being in a relationship with Kung Fu Bruce? What's that like?
I wake up every morning and look at my wife when she's beautifully sleeping, and I think she's so pretty. How can I fuck with her life today when she wakes up? I torture the shit out of my wife, and I love it.
How about being your friend? What's it like being your friend?
I'll do anything for you, but I'll pick on you every day.
Yeah. A little bit of a ball buster.
Absolutely.
I think that's why we get along.
What's friendship without ball busting?
So, you got anything else for me? Because I'm going to get into my 20 questions.
Dude, we already covered the fact that I could geek out too long on martial arts and comic book shit.
Yeah.
If anybody's asking, Michael Keaton's still the superior Batman. That came up the other day. But if I was to get into a street fight, I want Ben Affleck to back me up.
Michael Keaton is going to be the new Batman again soon, right?
Yeah, and The Flash coming out in June. So excited.
Nice. How about tell me who's the most important person in your life, just now or throughout your life?
My dad. I
Dad.
know that's like a typical answer,
Yeah,
but
no.
my dad helped shape me into the man I am today. And I couldn't have done it without him. Like, this is going to sound, however, but like,
Yeah.
between the love and affection and the ass whippings when they needed to be given, my dad was always there for me. And if I was ever in a bind, I could always call my dad.
That's not a bad thing. Every father is being a parent of two growing boys. It's something that I hope that they say eventually. I'm not so sure they'll say that I was the greatest all the time, but hopefully they say that they like me and I did some good.
Oh my God, my dad and I were like thicker than thieves. Even like he always said to me, when you get older, you're not going to want to hang with your dad anymore. And there I was at 25 going to see Ozzy with my dad.
That's awesome. All right, 20 questions. Here we go.
Go, hit it.
All right, this is the Angry Dave podcast, so I need to know what makes you angry.
Dumb motherfuckers. It's general, but like people like they just have no fucking brain sometimes. Where you're like, I can't believe like you just like, and then like they sit there and go, well, like, and when they act like they were right the whole time, like, oh, I told you. I'm like, no, you didn't tell me shit. You're still fucking stupid. Like, look, I'm getting angry just talking about it.
I see that. You can't see him, but he's getting a little
Yeah,
red in the
I have
face.
no patience for fucking straight like intentional stupidity.
How about something that makes you happy? What makes you happy?
I'm supposed to say my wife, but I could throw it in a tie so I don't get in trouble and say my wife and martial arts
Um, just doing the martial arts, just being there at the gym.
overall in general, like reading the history about it or doing it or getting thrown by Angry Dave.
What that happens less and less. What what makes you most proud? What are you most proud of?
That I was able to turn my life around from being not a fucking bad kid, but just a kid that made stupid decisions to being where I am today.
How about a time you shit yourself? Tell us about that.
All right, so I was with an ex-girlfriend at the time, and we had something to eat in University City. We went to like a ramen joint. I had like these wasabi beans or whatever the fuck they were, or some shit like that, and I had like a nice thing of ramen. You know what I could go for? Some ice cream as dessert. So I went to an ice cream parlor. I got like a hot fudge ice cream. And I was like, you know what? We'll drive through Southwest because I know a faster way. Because if we get on the highway at this hour, it's going to be like whatever. And not for nothing, if we pass a fucked up neighborhood, like maybe like she'll be more impressed with me when she's like, "Fuck, you come to work every day and do this." But I'm on my way home, and I get like maybe 5 minutes away, and my stomach just starts tightening. I'm like, "Fuck this." So it's like that thing when like you put like if you're driving, you put your left foot against like that little fucking wall at the bottom of your feet and your whole body just starts straightening out like a board because it's like you're doing everything to keep it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, where the Acme is on Oregon Ave, like
I
at
do.
19th and Oregon. So at the time I was in an apartment at 19th and Oregon, literally across the street from Acme. So like, that like at that apartment and I'm directly on Oregon Ave, I am literally 350 feet away from my front door.
Almost there.
Almost there. And then my bowel said, I don't give a shit that you're almost there. And a little came out.
And that's
I
it.
didn't shit my whole pants. No. A little came out, but I just like froze. I'm like I could just like my eyes just got huge. And I'm looking out my door and she looks at me and goes, what? I'm like, I said it completely honest. I had no fucks given. I was like, I think I just shit my pants a little bit, which was ironic because her dad was in the back seat of the car 2 weeks beforehand. And he was like, yo, take me to get a Jim's cheesesteak. I said, okay. We're on our way back to my house. And he's like, dude, I'm in pain. Like, I'm in pain. I'm like thinking, all right, dude, just hold it. We're like dude, it was almost about the right, like the same spot. We were like at the Checkers. And which is across the street from the Acme, which is across the street from my house. And he's in the back of my Ultimate. He's like, I gotta go. Like, he full blown shit himself. He was like, I shit my pants. I need to use your shower. I need a trash bag to throw my clothes away, and I got to borrow clothes. And I'm like, all right. And I sat there, and she's like, thanks for not making him feel bad. I'm like, it was ironic because I was like, it can happen to anybody. And 2 weeks later, it happens to me.
Yeah, but no, like not a full blown shit yet.
No. It was like I still had to go when I got in the house, but a little bit was alleviated because it came out.
Did you at least lose your underwear, or could you?
Oh no. Like my pants and my underwear were dead to me. They were dead.
Okay.
Oh, they were dead to me. Like I had to chuck them. Like I put them in a plastic bag when I got upstairs. But it was like the kind of shit when you're praying to God, like I already shit my pants. Please don't let me die on this toilet too.
Yeah. No, all right. That makes me a little bit more happy that you at least lost the underwear.
Yeah.
Because my shit story, I lost the whole bottom of a suit. Come back outside. People can hear that in my podcast. How about a time you peed or farted in public? That's embarrassing.
I don't really care, dude. I fart in front of anybody and make noise. I don't give a shit. Dude, I'll go out in public right now and rip them off, and I'll even look you right in the eye.
Yeah. So you're not like a silent but deadly kind of guy.
Oh, I can do that too. It depends. If I'm like in a really professional environment,
Mm-hmm.
then like I'll try to keep it in. But if it's like people I don't know, I'm not trying to impress anybody anymore. I'm married now. Like I love my wife. I'm not trying to pick anybody else up. So I have no problem like just letting her rip as dude. I walk my dog in the morning, first of the morning. When you're like gassy first of the morning because you just whatever. I walk down the street and just let him rip as I'm walking my dog. My dog farts and I fart. We both fart walking down the street.
How about pissing yourself? You ever piss yourself?
Not really. I never pissed my pants. Now I got to a point where it's like I was out like doing military stuff, like out like when I was in training, and we were just fucking running all day. And it's like the kind of running where like you got like a bunch of shit on your back, you got like stuff going on all day, and you're so dirty, you just don't give a shit. And it was so hot out there that like when you take a leak, and like you're like 95% of the way done.
Right.
But then you just shove it back in because you're like, I got to run.
Yeah.
And then you get that run down your pants.
Yeah.
Well, like a lot of times when I was out there, it was like 92% of the way done. So I would get a good stream down my pants, but I gave a fuck less and less because it was so hot out. It dried in 5 minutes.
Right.
I was like, I don't even give a fuck. So I got to that point where I just didn't give a shit. The piss was always down my leg every time I went because I was like, it'll dry in 5 minutes. It's so fucking hot out.
How about the best advice you ever got? What was the best advice?
That advice I got from Lieutenant Colonel Preston
Yeah.
about going into the military, enlisting, getting a job skill, and going back to school.
How about the worst advice? Any really terrible advice you got?
Not really terrible advice. It was just funny advice. When I got on the job, I had like this old timer that had like 20 years on, or as the kids would call him, old head. And he looked right at me and said, "Dude, how old are you? You look like you're really happy and young." And I'm like, "I'm 21." He goes, "You got a girl?" I say, "Yeah, I got a girl, dude. I've been with her since I was like 17. So I've been with her, like, I'm fucking shitty at math for like 4 years. I've been with her like 4 years, going on 5 when I'm 22. He goes, "Yeah, that's really nice. Do yourself a favor, buy 2 properties." And I said, why? Like to have a rental property? He said, no. So when you do something fucking stupid, like marry her, and then do something even dumber, like have kids with her, and she throws you the fuck out and takes everything you ever had, you still have a place to call home.
Yeah, miserable fuckers.
It's like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm 22. I'm 21, 30, 22. I'm like, fuck, man. So I was pretty funny hindsight because he's just like, yeah, like he just like he like that scene from Family Guy when Brian got spray painted pink, and the Pink Panther walked up and said, "Hey, your first day being pink? Yeah, welcome to fucking hell, dude." It was like this dude. He's like, "Yeah, oh, I remember when I had that glisten in my eye when I was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to fucking hell."
Yeah, you,
I'm like,
you
Jesus,
miserable fuck.
yeah, like Jesus Christ, dude, sweeten up the deal for me.
All right. If you got arrested and your friends and family didn't know why, what would they think happened?
They would be afraid that the DA locked me up or something to work. So their mind wouldn't even immediately go to like, oh my God, who did he hurt? Oh my God, what did he do? They would just assume, oh man, the district attorney locked him up or something.
What is an everyday struggle that you have? Just something that you struggle with every day. For me, it's my diet and loving Italian meats.
Believe it or not, as much as I love martial arts, getting to class.
Yeah.
Because like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no good time to go. Because like, if I go early in the morning, depending on like schedule, like if I'm 4 to 12 and I got held over at work,
Yeah.
I get like 3 or 4, maybe 5 hours of sleeping, and then get up at fucking 5 o'clock, 5:30 to go to judo. Or if I work my dick off all day from like 7:30 to like 4 o'clock, and if I got held over till 5 or whatever, getting home, sitting my ass on the couch, and then saying, "Fuck, I gotta get up to go to judo."
Yeah.
Like, once I go, I feel great. I'm glad I went.
Right.
And at post workout, like you have that post workout hustle. Like, dude, I feel like a man. I fucking just threw the shit out of people and had a great time. Everybody's shaking hands. Everybody's like so happy. But like, get me the fuck off that couch when I get home. I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't want to do shit.
All right. I need an embarrassing story. Something where you would just embarrass yourself.
Embarrassing story. Fuck, man. You have a lot in life. I mean, probably the one would be when I shit my pants because that
Yeah.
was pretty fucking embarrassing.
Come on, Bruce. What the fuck?
I know, man. There's a lot of stuff that I did that was pretty fucking embarrassing. Like I said, when I got all my friends are getting accepted letters to fucking school, and I get like these real like they're like some of them are getting frames. Like I got
Yeah.
accepted with a full ride to Temple, and even like my perfect cousin Gregory, he got a beautiful ride to his schools,
Yeah.
and he was a great student and a great kid, and I got 4 really nice rejection letters from 4 different colleges.
So you're trying to tell me you never got an argument with a kid at a Flyers game that had Down syndrome?
No, I could safely say I never did that. You
Okay.
beat me.
Oh wait, I said that was me.
I just insinuated.
Oh yeah, it was
Was
me.
it?
Yeah. Did you ever fall on your Did you ever fall on your face and have pebbles in your forehead when you were going to kiss a girl in an alleyway?
No, I didn't do that. But I tell you what, now that I'm looking back on it, I can definitely say I do have one thing that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I just got with my girl, who's my wife. But at the time she was my girl. I go to a block party at her place, her parents' house in Kensington. And I have never met her brothers at this point. I've never met her parents. Nobody. And this fucking so he's what, 14 now? I've been with her like almost 5 years. So he's like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Kid walks up to me. Don't know this kid. She didn't say anything to me. And he has his two fingers, like his pointer finger and his thumb, like it's like a little like fucking mouth, like a dog mouth.
Yeah.
And he walks up to me and goes, bark, bark. So I start doing it back at him, bark, bark. So he goes, bark, 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 bark. And my sister, my wife comes up to me and it's her little brother. And she goes, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. This kid's hilarious. I'm going to do bark, bark. Like, that's my little brother. He's got autism.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm like, oh, fuck. Now I'm picking on the autistic kid. Oh man, that was funny as shit. She's like, "What are you doing? You're fucking with my brother." Yeah, so what? It's funny. He's autistic. Oh, my bad. That was pretty funny.
What is your favorite curse word and why?
Cocksucker. So when I was little, my grandmother, my dad's mom, real character that one. She would say it all the time. And then when I would come over, I'd be like, "Grandmom, I want to say the word," and she'd be like, "Okay." She'd be like, she'd have me do something or whatever, and she's like, "If you do this, I'll let you say three curse words." And as a little kid, like
That's a
you would
great.
you would think spacing them out through the day would be the option. Like, oh, I'll drop one here, I'll drop one there, and I'll drop one there. I would just say them all in a row, like cocksucker, cocksucker, cocksucker. And she was like, and then I look at her and go, "Hey, Grandma, what? Can I say cocksucker again? You just did. That was your fourth. Get out." I'm like, fuck. So no, that hands down cock, because like you got to think about it, man. Like when you call someone a cunt, like if it's another man, you kind of look weak saying it.
Right.
Saying someone's a bitch is well overrated, or a
Right.
motherfucker, because everybody says motherfucker or a
Yeah.
bitch. When you look at someone and say, dude, you're such a fucking cocksucker, shut the fuck up.
It's a
Like,
good
it
one.
kind of gives you like a good like advantage in a sense. Like, damn, man, chill.
Yeah, it's aggressive. I agree with you.
Coming and swinging.
Tell me what's most important to you.
Family. I'm going to Vin Diesel this one,
Yeah, no, man.
like in the Fast and the Furious movies. Nothing like family.
Nothing like family.
Nothing like family.
If you switch genders for one day and you had to be a female, how would you spend your day?
I'd rule the fucking world.
It's a day, Bruce.
I'd still find a way to rule the fucking world. Think about this, man. I will say this to you. Women in general had me doing fucked up shit since I was old enough to be into them. And you got to think, did that take 3 weeks for them to do that?
It didn't.
It took 2 fucking seconds for them to bat their eyes at and say, just for the hopes that I might be able to do something with this girl.
Yeah.
She'd be like, well, if you could do this, whatever. I'd be like, all right, fucking name it where and when.
Wow.
Look, I'm married. I've been with her for 5 years, and she still gets me to do dumb fucking shit.
So, you're assuming that you're going to be attractive as a female.
Well, that's the thing. Am I a dumpster fire or am I attractive?
No, you're attractive. You can
If I'm
be
attractive, I'd rule the world. You'd have a whole Monica Lewinsky thing going on again. And let's think, Monica's got it hooked up.
Well, did you ever get caught having sex or catch your parents having sex?
Never caught my parents. I caught my uncle. He
That's-
told me he was fixing the bed, and
He's fixing the bed.
yeah, he told me and my younger cousin Taylor were downstairs. Like, yo, I'm going upstairs with Kim for a minute. We got to look at something in the room. We're like, okay, we're watching Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm like, I'm tired of watching Pee Wee. So I go upstairs. Next thing I know, my little cousin's behind me. I open up the door. They're going at it. And he throws something at the door and says, get the fuck out. We're fixing the bed. Like, okay. Like, as a kid, you're like, oh, okay, they're fixing the bed. I don't know what the fuck they do because I was like 5 or 6 or whatever. And as a full grown man, I'm like, you were fucking that woman while I was watching Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Was he fucking butt ass naked?
She was on top of him.
She was on top of. Was she
They were completely naked.
completely naked?
I was thinking, that's a weird way to fix a bed. But, whatever. Yeah, no, I never got caught, though. Now, there were times that it was like really close.
Yeah. Yeah, I never got caught. I got caught like a month later or 2 months later when my parents were moving out of the house and there was a gouge in the wall.
Nice.
And my dad asked me what that was, and I had to tell him I'd fix it. That's the only time. Fuck, my 10-year-old didn't even realize we had sex more than twice until about 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. That's
Nice.
amazing.
He thought that it was just like something you had to do at least twice to get it out of your system.
Right. All right, next question here. Let me look at this thing. I'm losing my place here. When it's all over, what do you want people to remember you for?
That I was fair, that I was honest, it was a good time, and I looked out for everybody that was close to me.
Amen. If there is a God and you get to the pearly gates, what do you want God to say to you?
Crazy ride, wasn't it? Yeah. Ready for the next adventure? All right, let's do it.
All right. What are your thoughts of almost 47-year-old men that do martial arts?
I think they're the fucking best because you're willing to go out there and get that shit in still, while other 40-year-old, 7-year-old men just don't.
Yeah. What's your affinity? You have a bunch of older dude friends, right? Like, what do you think that's about?
You can actually bullshit with them about stuff, and it's not like fucking debating with a child. Like I got some friends my age. I have a good amount of friends my age, but like my neighbor across the street, Keith, he's the fucking man. He's like 53 and a retired trooper.
Yeah.
We get along really well. I get along well with Deputy Dave. Oh, sorry, Angry Dave.
I agree.
And I get along with, Allah acts like a 40-year-old, but he's like 33. Um, and I get along with my father-in-law really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah, he calls it bad. Bruce has a nickname for everybody in the judo studio.
I do.
Some of you know it, some of you don't.
Yeah,
I'm Deputy Dave to Bruce
to
for some
me.
reason. I
I
don't
call
really.
my judo coach Allah Ballbuster.
Next question. If your 15-year-old dog was dying and needed surgery, would you pay for that surgery if it gave the dog an extra 6 months?
How much we talking here?
Expensive.
Like,
You,
if we're talking in the thousands and they have no quality of life, no, absolutely not.
it's going to give them 5 to 6 months of quality.
Quality, like they will enjoy their life and have fun
Yeah.
and be a good dog. Yeah, I'd do it.
For how about if it's 10 grand? So it's a
So
pretty.
I'm not really the one to ask because when I got my German Shepherd,
Yeah.
she was a puppy. She got into an accident, fucked her head up. She like fucked up like her head to the point that it, like cracked her skull and got into her brain. But like I brought her over to like Penn emergency room. They put a staple in and said, no, she's fine.
Yeah.
So I went away to military training and my wife's like, she just peed herself and she can't stand. So I'm like, okay. So we go over to Penn again. They're like, yeah, no, she's got an infection in her brain because it actually didn't just crack her skull, like
Oh,
it like
Jesus.
penetrated her brain.
Yeah.
They're like, we're gonna operate and help out. And like we already tried the Sue Penn because they were like, we could do stuff to help her. They never told us what the bill was, how
Yeah.
much any of this was gonna cost.
Yeah.
It ended up being $8,000.
Jesus Christ.
And they said, "Oh, yeah, like we knew post surgery. Thank God she's okay. She's my little. They're like my kids.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, she had like a 30% chance of making it, a 70% chance of dying. We're like, what the fuck, man? We're like, I mean, granted, like I said, I got really lucky. They
Yeah.
did a great job with my dog. Her name's Olive. I fucking love that dog like more than anything.
Yeah.
When I refinanced my house, I paid that vet bill.
Yeah.
But in that instance, like I said, I'm hard to ask because I would have done anything for that dog.
Yeah. It was also young though, right?
Yeah, she was like 1, 2.
Yeah. I asked the question.
15 years, she had a good. If it was 15 years old,
Right.
she had a good run, and I wouldn't do something to prolong if she was going to die inevitably. Maybe a bad death, maybe not.
Yeah. I asked that question because I feel like people are over the top with their animals at this point. Like they'll literally put themselves in fucking serious debt to get like 3 more months with their fucking
I
dog.
wouldn't do that because I feel like you're just dragging the poor dog along because they had 15 good years, and
Right.
it's going to like inevitably come to something, good or bad. Whereas
Right.
like my 1-year-old German Shepherd, who I really love,
Yeah.
like I've had her since she was like a week old.
Right.
I'll pay for that
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
she's 3 years old now, and she's a happy dog. She's like, I love that fucking dog. Like I'll get in from a shitty day and be like, I am ready to fucking kill 5 people.
Yeah.
Walk in that door and I see my German Shepherd Olive, I see my husky named Kevin, and I see my black cat named Poe, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. It ain't bad. I got a good life here. I'm happy.
Kevin, huh?
Oh, dude, Kevin's my man. Only winners are named Kevin.
All right. Last question. If you had a choice between being naked in public for 8 hours or you had to have thought bubbles appear above your head for 2 weeks for all your thoughts, what would you choose?
I would be naked. I'll take the naked for 8 hours. Fuck that.
Why?
I think some fucked up shit, dude.
Mhm.
Everybody does. Like, I remember reading something about like a therapist saying like every person has a fucked up thought, like well throughout the fucking day. The difference between being like a psychopath or something is acting on that fucked up thought. Like imagine thinking something like so fucking horrible and everybody could just read it.
Yeah.
Like like you
Mhm.
just you can't help it. Your brain computes things a certain way.
Yes.
What makes you the person is if you act on it or just let it be a thought that drifts away.
I appreciate you, Bruce. It makes me feel more normal.
Absolutely, dude. There are things I'm like fuck, like we had a dead body, and like the dude died. Like he was like a drug dealer or whatever. He died, but he was dead for a while, and his fucking eye was wide open and shit. And like the first thing I thought looking at this dude is, who the fuck are you eyeballing? He's just like looking at him. I mean, the other cops would have thought that was hilarious. If that was a thought bubble that neighbors, family, and all those other people could see, that'd be pretty fucked up.
It's fucking amazing.
But I'm not gonna say that. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you just did.
You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna like fucking walk through like their neighborhood and shit with that thought bubble.
It's amazing. All right, we're going to end this podcast. Bruce, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Dave.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
having me.
taking this time. And I'll see you in a couple days, and you'll choke me. All right.
And you'll throw me before I do.
All right.
That's good.
Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Bye.
See you.
Couple days, and you'll choke me. All right.
And you'll throw me before I do.
All right.
Sounds good.
Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Bye.
See you.